Okay, we are live. Hello, good morning, good evening, whatever it is. This is going to be a bit of a rant, um, and I will try my best to contain myself, but this is our time. This is when when the timing is exactly right. This is when we push back. And I'm not a fan of Trump. I disagree with lots of his politics. And to be honest with you, I don't really have that much interest in American politics. I really don't. I'm Norwegian. And yeah, so I do, however, dislike it. I have a strong hatred for lying bastards. So, hi there, Jamie. I will be using some rude words in this live stream because, yes, I will. To anyone who believe that, I'll just say it straight out. If you ever trust mainstream media again, you're a fool. They are lying. They make things up to fit their agenda. There might be some journalists here and there in the system in mainstream media who are, they want to do the right thing. But the result and what you see being presented in newspapers, TV news channels, it's very biased. It's very biased. And not only do they have a bias, they are also lying and making things up. And I've always been provoked when you hear these people saying that you shouldn't trust. Oh, did you hear that on YouTube? Ha ha ha. No, you shouldn't trust. You shouldn't trust alternative media. You should only trust mainstream media because they tell the truth. There are still people out there who will say that, and they are fools. They're damned fools. And that's all I can say about it. So I will. You know what? I thought I would find here what BBC themselves are saying, and if you have been living under a rock for the last few days, the BBC was caught finally having edited Trump's speech. Was that on the 6th of January? To make it look like he was inciting an insurrection. So I'll just read here. I'm not that advanced that I can play it I haven't really figured that out yet, how to do that. But I have BBC's own article here, actually, because I find it very interesting what they are writing here. So in the edited BBC clip that was broadly and widely used by other news outlets as well, this is the clip that they used in Norway. And I have yet not seen any apology from any of those bastards. But anyway, in the speech, it says here, this is BBC themselves saying this. Because they were caught. They would never have said this if they were not caught. They knew, of course, what they were doing. In the edited BBC edited clip, Trump says, We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight like hell. Yeah. And what he really said was, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. There's a slight difference between those two statements, I would say. A slight difference. Now, what I will say is that after having edited myself hundreds upon hundreds of videos, I can spot where they cut a video when they edit things together. And in this case, it was obvious. And I believe that I saw the original speech. I can't find it, and because I've back then I think I saw the original speech, um, recorded by someone on alternative media, you know. Um, but I gave up telling people that that's not what he said. I did say so. That's not what he said, but they were all like people uh, but people were talking about this, and I always, I said that's not what he said. They have edited it. I said that, but of course people won't listen, and then you would hear them saying, "Well, did you see that on YouTube? Did you?" You know, you shouldn't trust that. You should only trust mainstream media. So they what they've done here, if you want to know. Uh, DPFX9999. Good to see you here. Good to see you. Um, so what they're trying they're clinging to the last straws here now, BBC that is, and the other mainstream media and leftist news outlets as well. They're trying to say, or they are saying, and trying to make people actually believe that this was just a mistake. It was kind of, this happened by chance. It was just a random edit, and it made it seem like he was inciting an insurrection and violence and all of that. I can tell you that, since I have edited so many videos, hundreds of videos, and what they've done here is they have cut it. They've made it look like it's cut like that because of camera angles, and they've also tweaked the sound, so that it will seem like he said that in one sentence. Now, I will admit that sometimes when especially when I'm in the outdoors, um, I do leave in the imperfections, right? I do that, but sometimes if I forget which word it is, what's that called in English, and I pause for a little while, and I'm thinking like this, and that's what it's called. This tree is called a beech, for instance. I might edit out that part where I just stand there thinking, right? So sometimes, because of things like, now this gets detailed, but when you're filming outside, the wind and so on will make a background noise. So if you just cut it, it will sound a little bit, you will hear the cut. So you can tweak that a little bit so it's more uniform. And that's what they've done here. It seems like that's what they've done here. So not only did they cut it together, they also tweaked the sound so it sounds like one sentence. And now they're trying to say, the BBC, that there is no bias in the BBC. No bias in the BBC. Okay. Now there are so many examples of BBC's bias, of course. So that's just, you know, I think we all know, especially if you live in the UK, it's the BBC is biased. It's biased to the left. It is, you know. So um, let's see here. Where was it? Uh, let's see. Um, yeah. Well, first of all, the BBC has been caught. Yeah, here's about the bias. Okay. The BBC's, just a lister, the BBC's coverage of the 2024 US election was more critical of Trump than of his opponent, Kamala Harris. BBC is published ill-researched material that suggested issues of racism when there were none. There was a selection bias against sending stories about migration and asylum seekers to BBC News app users as push notifications, misrepresenting the percentage of Palestinian women and children who have been killed by Israel's military in Gaza, and misrepresenting the likelihood of children starving under Israel's aid blockade. I will add that what Israel has been doing in Gaza cannot be defended. It's evil. But there are two sides to most stories, right? Now, that's the BBC. I actually think that in the USA it's much worse. This is very obvious, right? Can I say the words mostly peaceful protests? Mostly peaceful. Black Lives Matter. The riots, because those were riots, right? And then you have the 6th of January. They just call it an insurrection. Was it an insurrection? Was it really? Was it really? Was that what it was? Really? And also, I think it was not the right thing to do. I think it was not the right thing to do. But I care about truth. And also, another thing I have noticed is that when these people in mainstream media, when they say that, oh, a person was killed during the 6th of January protest, I'll just call it a protest. You might want to call it an insurrection or whatever, but what happened there? They are saying one person was even killed, and that's all they say about that. Who was killed? Who was it that was killed? They leave out that part, don't they? And I find that very interesting. Do you know? You know who was killed? Because they don't say that. One of the protesters, a woman. So it's inconvenient to them to say that, because it might seem like the people who are clutching their pearls are very comfortable with people being shot just so that they won't mess up their offices. Yeah. So this is where we are, and Do I think that it's only the leftist media that is lying? No, I think they do that on. I think, like, I know that Fox News is lying because I don't know if they're just ill researched or lazy and stupid or lying or both. But I know that Fox News is lying because when they talk about Norway, and they always want to portray Norway as this woke place, which is ridiculous, by the way. And what they are saying is, it's fake news. That's proper fake news. It's one example is when they said, was it from last year or something like this, 2025, I think. No, that's this year actually. From this year, it's illegal to sell fossil fuel cars in Norway. That's what they said, and I could go and buy a fossil fuel car now. It's it's not true. So um, so it's yeah. They I don't know if they're lying or if they're just lazy and stupid. But what I'm trying to say is that this is happening both to the left and the right. Um, and it's probably because they have been bought. They are highly biased, and they are biased because the people who donate money, they don't do that to be kind. They do it so that the news outlet will further their cause. Yeah. Yeah, the thing about America is so brilliant because you can carry guns. It won't help you. I'm sorry, that's the real. It's so fucking obvious. You might say that to yourself, might feel better, but saying that, but it's not true. It won't make a difference. And I know it makes me unpopular when I say that, especially at this time of the morning. But I don't care. And if you've been following me for a while, you will know that I don't care if I offend you. I do not care. um, how do they get you? They get you because so many people are dependent on different kinds of medications. That's how they get you. If you're dependent on that, you should do what you can to not be dependent on that because they got you by the balls. If you're dependent on the system, either because of a smartphone addiction, you need some medications. Now, don't get me wrong. If many people do actually need medications and it's not their fault at all. But if it's because you're overweight or something else that you can actually do something about, don't come to me talking about how guns make you independent, because it fucking don't. That's not. Yeah, okay, I'll move on. So who resigned from the BBC? Yeah, it doesn't really matter at this point, but Tim Davie, he was BBC Director General in 2020, earning between 540,000 and 544,999 a year. He oversees the corporation and is responsible for its editorial, operational, creative leadership. He said, while not overall, the BBC is delivering well, but there have been some mistakes made. And as Director General, I have to take ultimate responsibility. I wonder how much he got to resign. We got to fight for our journalism. Yeah, Tim, I think that you stopped fighting a long time ago. You might have been fighting for your salary, but that's all. And Deborah Turnus also resigned. She was overseeing news and current affairs programs, earning between 430,000 and 434,999. Isn't it funny? They 999. She had responsibility for a team of about 6,000 people, broadcasting to audiences almost 500 million across the world in more than 40 languages. And she said, while mistakes have been made, I want to be absolutely clear. Recent allegations that BBC News is institutionally biased are wrong. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So they have been sitting in a room and making up a story. What are we supposed to say now? And this is what they came up with. That's not good enough, you know. So the BBC is highly biased. And it's interestingly, I find the BBC to be biased against the far left as well, actually. That might come as a surprise, but this is quite common, at least in Europe. They protect the liberal, I heard this expression, the liberal metropolitan class. That's where the money is, usually, in Europe. And why the liberal metropolitan class? Well, being a globalist liberal metropolitan makes sense if you're removed from real life. If you live in a nice area, you drive directly to work, you park under the building, maybe take the elevator up, and you sit in the office, and you don't deal with all the crap out there. It makes sense to see the world through that lens, and you go to parties probably with other people just like that. It becomes this bubble, looks like YouTube is suppressing this live stream. YouTube is also highly biased. Now, YouTube cares mostly about money, by the way. So that's why sensationalist right-wing channels, they do extremely well on YouTube. But YouTube is in itself, as a creature, you could say, is highly biased to the left. And it has a globalist metropolitan liberal agenda, that YouTube, that is. So it's the same nonsense. And and they defend each other, these people. And this is a problem, because they're going to keep lying. If anyone think that YouTube now, YouTube as well, YouTube, BBC, Fox News, CNN might be the worst. If I were to bet who is the most biased, who is lying the most out of the news outlets that I know of, it would be CNN. I would put good money on CNN for being the most biased, actually. Where did I watch the January 6th? I can't remember, but it was not Maybe someone sent it to me. I can't remember now. I couldn't find it. But it was filmed, of course. Lots of people filmed it, you know. But anyway, yeah, true. They won't stop lying. Yeah, you know, it's it's funny how it works because you could say that there are two kinds of people: those who have integrity and those who don't have integrity. Do I think that Trump has integrity? No, I do not think so. I think he did many years ago as he was running for president, but to get back this time, I think he sold his integrity. That's my guess. It seems like that. Popular opinion here. But there are people who will do whatever and say whatever just to get their way. And then there are people who will do the right thing, especially when they know that it will get them into, it will not be beneficial to them to tell the truth and to do the right thing. And we should strive to be truthful. It should be at least something that we try our best, right? Because there are most people, it seems, they will lie if it helps them. So I don't think that being lying and being biased is something that only the left is doing. I don't think so. I see it a lot, of course, on the typical fundamental Christian right wing. They're either extremely stupid or they are lying, or both. But there's a lot of lying going on there. And isn't lying a sin in Christianity? Isn't lying a sin? Yeah, but anyway, Trump, a narcissist, I don't know, but I don't know. He's old now, and is he lying or just not remembering things? I don't know. But yeah, I don't think Trump is the problem here, and I don't think Trump is the solution either. These politicians, there seems to be those with integrity. It seems to be few and far between. I've seen some here in Norway. I've seen some, very few. I can think of one on the far left. I disagree with him, of course, but he seems to have integrity. And I can think of one on the what's her name? Sylvi Listhaug. That's the Progress Party on the right. She seems to have integrity. Again, I don't really agree with everything, but it seems to be, those two people seem to be truthful, honest. Yeah. And of course there are these politicians. They when they get caught lying, it's so funny because they what's the word, squirm and twist and try to make excuses. And we just yesterday, I think it was, the former leader of the Norwegian Labour Party, Torbjørn Jagland, He's always portrayed himself as this highly moral person, oh, doing the right thing always. Um, he was a friend of Epstein, and he wanted to come and live on that island, Epstein's island, if Trump won the election. Uh, yeah, so why did he want to go there? Isn't that strange? And now he's trying to make all sorts of excuses, And no, he just said no comment. The last thing I saw there, he said no comment, and he's not the only one, of course. So these are horrible people, obviously. Yeah, Bernie Sanders in the US, you know what? I think now I don't know so much about his background and all of that, but I've heard him talk, and again, I might be wrong, but he seems to be a person who has a high degree of integrity. I would say, I might be wrong there, but he comes across as that sort of person. Do I agree with his politics? No, I don't. But I just wanted to say that. So what it was about the pre-2016 Trump that you feel showed integrity? It was the honesty, and it was the fact that he was not doing and this is a big thing. He was not catering to the Christian nationalists. And you might be a Christian nationalist, okay? That's fine. I think it's problematic, but also, if that's you, go ahead. But Trump, is he a Christian? I don't think so. He's just cosplaying being a Christian. But he knew that he had to get those people on his team, and he needed to get their support to win. So he started talking a lot about God and all of that, and yeah. So that's a telltale sign of someone who has lost his integrity. Yeah. Yeah, that's well said, Richter. Unlike with most politicians, I would buy a used car from Bernie. Yeah, would not vote for Bernie, but yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. Is it a slur, Christian nationalist? But that's what they are calling themselves. These people are calling themselves Christian nationalists. So, yeah. Yeah, the canal is drying up. You mean the swamp? Is the swamp drying up? Yeah. I don't think so. I think the swamp is getting deeper and wider. That's because of the system. And this system that we have with politics now, it seems to punish those people who are honest. And it seems to honest and moral. And it doesn't, when I say moral, we have different morals, right? So if you are, let's say, Christian nationalist, you can have integrity and be a Christian nationalist. I don't agree with you, okay? And you can be honest. That's what you believe, okay? You can be a communist and be honest and have integrity, if that's what you believe. I don't agree with you, but you get what I'm saying? I think that the swamp is getting deeper and wider because the system itself has not changed, right? You have big companies, so we have big pharma, big media, the weapons industry, and all of that. They have bought these politicians, and the insane system where politicians are allowed to invest in the stock market. It's insider trading basically. As long as you have things like that in place, as long as these people are allowed to sit there on their fat asses for years and years and years, you will never drain the swamp because of the money, because of the greed. And I think also that they got dirt on each other. So it's this system of, if you do something I don't approve of, I will tell what you did back then. And it goes both ways, and it's this spider web of someone knowing something bad someone did, and they would be cast out of the swamp um, if they go against what the other people in the party want, or something like that. You get what I'm saying here? And in Norway, of course, it's the same. And what's very common here is that when a politician is retiring from politics, they get a job in a company called First House. I don't know if that's an international company. I don't know. But that's where they get a new job. And what are they doing? First House. What are they doing? Which business are they into? Anyone know? Um, they're a lobbying company. So a politician resigns from politics, then gets hired by First House. Then their job is to go into, well, you would say Congress in America, I guess, and talk with their old colleagues who are still in politics to make them do certain things that benefits those people, those companies that hire First House. Did you get that? So that's why in Norway these companies get they get to destroy our forests to build wind turbines, which will never be profitable. That's why they get to poison the population with vaccines. That's why they get to, they become lobbyists. It's very common. And that's highly problematic. And this is why politicians do things that go against the will of the people all of the time. And mind my words there, this is the reason why so many weapons and money is being poured into Ukraine. And that might provoke people, but if you looked at the numbers, this is an economic model where you take the taxpayers' money, you pay companies, like in the weapons industry in this case, and it's so simple because there is no risk there. It's like just digging gold out of the ground, right? And now these politicians are actually saying straight out that the reason they want to keep the war in Ukraine going is to weaken Russia, so Russia won't attack along another place at the front line. And let that sink in. They are willing to drain Ukraine of all of their people, at least all the men, have them all killed and maimed, just because they have provoked Russia. Now, I don't support Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Don't get me wrong here. But at where we are now, that's their plan, to, to weaken Russia. And to do that, they are willing to sacrifice Ukraine. Ukraine will never win that war. And I think everyone understands that. But they're going to use that war to weaken Russia. That's the plan. So, yeah. Politicians with integrity and morals would never agree to something like that because it's evil. You know? Jamie, are you not? I have a king. I thought you were in the USA. But anyway. Yeah, so this is like one would speak about the war in Ukraine. You think mainstream media is not lying? Of course they're lying. It's a perfect example. And I hold on. Now, you know, these live streams are not really very well prepared. If you want well edited and prepared live streams, you have to go somewhere else. But how was it? Oh yeah. So I can't remember the numbers now. Sorry, but there was I remember I heard the following on the radio some time ago, quite some time ago, and it went like this. The journalist said, there's been a poll in Ukraine, and here are the numbers for when it comes to support of the war, like keeping going on with the war in Ukraine. Not that they want war, but that, you know, instead of trying to find a solution now, and the point is that there was a majority in Ukraine just want the war to end. And then the same journalist said, so we see that there is a lot of support in Ukraine for the war. And I was like, what? No, that's the opposite. That is the opposite of what was said, you know. And I think that was sort of a little bit of a slip there, because yeah. But of course they lie about the war in Ukraine. I think they lie about the casualties, and they want to make it seem like the Russians are losing more people than Ukraine. And I find that hard to believe, because it just seems like Russia would have an easier time being so many more people and being able to attack on several fronts. I don't know, but it seems unlikely that Ukraine is losing less people than Ukraine, than Russia. Sorry. So. Yeah. So again, you know, consequences when these people lie. So this case, that's the BBC. and they were caught lying. And you shouldn't be shocked. It's obvious that they lie. I think that for me, the most obvious example of how mainstream media is lying and misrepresenting things in recent years has been the combination of COVID, lockdown, and Black Lives Matter. Because when the Black Lives Matter riots, and I will call it riots, started, that was, if I remember correctly, the lockdown was still in effect in most countries. Am I wrong? Please let me know if I'm wrong, because we didn't have that in Norway. Some people tried, but it was like laughable. It didn't take off in Norway, luckily, and we didn't really have such a huge lockdown thing either. But it was summer, and yes, lockdown. Okay, so how is it that on one hand you have lockdown, and if you criticize the lockdown, you're an extremist, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're all sorts of bad stuff, right? And if you criticize the Black Lives Matter riots, even if you agreed with their cause, and I think their cause is based on lies, by the way, and I looked at the numbers, I looked at the statistics, and what they were saying is not true. But anyway, even if it was true, there is a military draft in Norway already, by the way. If it was true, how is it that on one hand you should not criticize the lockdown, but also you should not criticize the Black Lives Matter riots? How is it that mainstream media will, in many cases, on the same page in the newspaper or on the website, it will say Black Lives Matter protest and this and that, and pictures of people in the streets, and mostly peaceful protests. and up here to the left, that lockdown measures and this and that. They're you can tell that they are lying and at least misrepresenting the truth just by looking at those two side by side, because both cannot be true. You get what I'm saying? You can't both defend lockdown and the Black Lives Matter protests. You have to choose one. So when mainstream media were basically saying lockdowns are good, we need the lockdowns, and they're also saying at the same time, the same day, Black Lives Matter protests are good, we need those protests, you know that they are not telling the truth. You know that they are misrepresenting facts. You know that they have a bias. This is so obvious, and you kind of lose faith in people when they buy into both of those at the same time. So it's like when I was not wearing the face mask, except in one of the stores there were lots of elderly people and typically people in a wheelchair, and they got so nervous when I was not wearing the face mask. So I did at that one place there, because they got so they were shaking, like, but when you're not wearing a face mask, you're criticized. And why are they not criticizing the people not wearing face masks, shouting that white people are bad? Both can be untrue at the same time, though. That is very true. Up secret, thank you for saying that. That's a good point. Yeah. And um, both were probably untrue. Absolutely. Well, we know that now. Well, yeah, we know that we know that the lockdowns did more harm than good. Well, they didn't do any good, actually. Um, it was obesity and not being out in the sun that made people sick. And Black Lives Matter, it was, the way I look at it now, it was a hyped movement where people saw an opportunity to make a lot of money. And some of them did. Yeah. Um, yeah, much like MAGA. Yeah, that's like a cult too, in a way. Um, but they're not burning cars in the streets. I don't like it when people are burning cars in the streets. That's just me, maybe, but I don't like that. Uh, yeah. Yeah. Also, research has shown that the COVID vaccines, and this is the research done by when they're trying to justify what they did, it didn't help you at all unless you had comorbidities and were old. So anyone who's not old got the vaccine that was just didn't help you at all, didn't make any difference. Um, yeah, I know how this works. I come across as someone who's a big fan of Trump, and people will need to unsubscribe. This is also, I'm you don't have to like Trump in order to call BBC out for what they did here, and also the all the other mainstream news outlets. This is how it works. You see, it's become so tribal now. So if you just try to tell the truth to the best of your abilities, what that means, you know what that means? It means that you will not be either left or right or centrist. You don't care about the politics, you care about the principle of truth. People generally do not like that. When you criticize, I've criticized both the left and the right are in the same live stream. People do not like that. And this is why YouTube, for instance, keep pushing those channels in the political sphere that are either very right wing or very left wing. It's either one of those. If you care about integrity and truth, people do not like that. In general, people do not like that. I know I will see comments now like, "Oh, you're a fan of Trump and all of that. Are you MAGA and all of that?" No, I'm not actually, but this is how it works, and this is the reason why politics now and the society and the culture in general is so toxic. You know, and it's really sad. And I must say that it makes me feel like I'm dealing with children. No, children would be more sensible. Little children would be much more sensible. Um, yeah, but you get what I'm saying here. Um, If I know any high-profile Norwegian celebrities, politicians who have experienced health issues due to the vaccine, I don't keep track. I don't. I'm not interested in celebrities. I wouldn't know. The only celebrities I know of are quite old because I haven't paid notice to that nonsense in many years. Well, I never did, but when you grow up, you kind of notice who are famous and who are. But no, um, I don't know. I don't think the politicians would say if they are suffering from side effects, and many of them probably are, but I don't think they would say. Um, so let's see here. Yeah, I'm often being called right wing, and I think that's mostly because popular opinion, that's mostly because so many people have moved so far to the left that anyone who would have been considered maybe centrist before is now being considered very conservative. So I saw someone wrote I stumbled upon Reddit, that cesspool of nonsense, the other day. I don't. Oh yeah, I sometimes I do a search on my name. Yes, I do, because people make up strange things, especially about my family situation. Um, I'm apparently married to several different women, and I have many different children with names I've never heard about. It's yeah. So that's AI and the internet for you. But um, it was a criticism. I didn't read the whole thing. It was a poster on Reddit. I'm not really that interested, but it seemed to be a criticism of my video where I told about the time when I got again on my main channel. I got an email from someone acting as an agent for people in an Arab country, a Muslim country, and they wanted me to write or have my books adapted to the screen. And the whole point was that it would be used to portray Muslims in a very positive light, or portray Islam in a very positive light. And as I said in the video, it was a hard no from me, uh, obviously. And in the video, I also talked about that famous ring that they found. Oh, was it at Birka? Birka was, yeah, if it was Birka was a very international place during the Viking Age, at least early Viking Age, very international. And there's a ring there. It says Inshallah, I think, on that ring. And some people want that to mean that the Vikings were Muslim. And in the video, I said, it's very obvious that this is just something that was either stolen or used to trade with. They didn't care about those signs there. They couldn't read the signs on the ring. This should be obvious. But anyway, and then I was criticized for saying that. And I'm right-wing conservative and this and that. And the same person also wrote that, oh, but I'm trans, and so on and so on. And so they all seem to fit into the same image, these people, and they harbor some very, I hope that's the right word, some very extreme opinions that go against what is actually true and real. Now we have always lots of Christians here, which is okay, that's fine, and we could have a discussion about, for instance, what sparked the beginning of life. That's an interesting discussion, and I'm not a scientist, so I don't really understand the processes and all of that, but I still find that would be an interesting discussion. But if someone says that the earth is less than 10,000 years old, I know that you're not telling the truth, or you're just being stupid. And with these leftist people, they will say things like, gender is a spectrum. No, is that what they say? Well, that could actually be discussed. Is it a spectrum? But when they say that your biological sex doesn't, hold on, I have to think, because what are they saying? They are saying that your biological sex has nothing to do with whether you're a man or a woman, and you can be, what's the word they call it when they don't have a gender? They say that they're all sorts, non-binary. Yes, you can't be non-binary. That's impossible. You can't be that. You can't be non-binary. It is actually impossible. So, but that's what they're saying. And why am I telling you? You know all this, of course, but this is just a perfect example of how far left. Well, is it left? But anyway, they would say it's leftist. They believe in insane stuff. And when they believe in insane stuff, someone who, like myself, becomes far right. Yeah. And that's where we are. Now, I actually think that we are seeing the beginning of the end of the trans movement. There will always be people who are biologically what's it called, trans. That's off topic. There very few people are, but that's not what we're talking about here. But yeah, and my guess is that those people would prefer to just not get so much attention because of that, and be treated like just normal people, like other people. That's my guess. Yeah, you're far left. Don't care how people identify themselves. Sharp canines. I think also maybe it's the left has been hijacked by crazy people. Is that true? No, I think so. And I think the right has also been hijacked by crazy people. At least in the USA, that's what it looks like. So, do I sound moderate? Well, thank you. No, sharp canines sound moderate. Yes, yes, you do. Yeah, yeah. It's an inclusive tent. What this live stream or the left? I have some leftist opinions from a Norwegian perspective. But I do not think that the left is inclusive. Maybe that's just me. So I think that the trans movement we're seeing the beginning of the end. The horrible thing is that, of course, so many people have, especially young people, have been operated on, and they're injured for life. And I see lawsuits in the future. So that's coming. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, have you seen these movie stars, the American movie stars, and they typically have not just one but several trans children. It's so heartbreaking to see, because what I'm seeing there is kids who just want the attention from their mother. That's what it's about. It's really heartbreaking. Yeah. Yeah, it's statistically impossible. Who is it? One of these actresses, she has like 3 adopted sons, and they're all trans. Like they are wearing dresses and stuff. That's statistically almost impossible. So you really have to look at the environment that they are in. Is it Charlize Theron? Yeah. So, yeah, and it's really sad, you know. It's really sad. Jeffrey, I'm so naive here. I read your comment there. The U.S. Treasury Secretary is married to a man, and they have 2 kids. Well, good for her. That's what I thought. But then I thought, oh, that must mean that the U.S. Treasury Secretary is a man, married to a man. And you know what? I don't care. That's fine. If men or women want to get married to each other, I don't care. Why would I care? I think if it goes against a religion, it shouldn't be. That should be respected. But marriage as a marriage by the state, I don't care if it's men or women, whatever. I don't care. But what I do care about is when you have, for instance, a lesbian couple, and they're saying, "We got pregnant. We're going to have a child." No, you didn't. You didn't. One of you. That's what I'm thinking is one of you got pregnant using the sperm from some man that you have never met, that's how you got pregnant, one of you. So this is what I don't like to see, and also yeah, and this is an opinion that will make you hated on the left and possibly on the right. Many people will hate me for saying that, but not many people will be listening to this live stream, so that's okay. and I don't care if I'm hated for saying that, because I care about the truth. So it's like, oh, um, two guys are saying we're going to have a child, and I'm like, no, you're not going to have a child. One of you has paid money to have your sperm inserted into a woman who will carry that child through pregnancy, birth the child, and then give it away, which I find to be extremely evil. Well, I don't care if they know the sperm donor. It's still a lie when they say that we are pregnant. They're not pregnant. One of them is pregnant with a man. You can't get pregnant in any other way. So, Jeffrey, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, kids need a mom, but that doesn't always happen. I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, life can be very difficult. Yeah. Yeah. So again, we're talking about people who are lying here, and this is just another example of that. A lesbian couple can't get pregnant. One of them, as I said, can get pregnant with a man. It's the only way, and a gay couple can't have a child. They can adopt a child, and they can hire a woman to get impregnated and carry that child through pregnancy and birth. So it might be convenient to these people to say what they are saying, but they are still lying, and I hate that. Yeah, and if you really want to know, I think that when a gay couple or a lesbian couple, they find it necessary to have a biological child, one of them needs to have a biological child, I absolutely think that's very selfish. We're all different, and we don't get to have everything here in life. I don't get to have everything. I have my own issues, and so do you. And I hate when people take a shortcut like that, and they lie they make up this illusion to hide the facts of who they are and their choices in life, and they can't choose to be gay. Yeah, sure, but it still comes with consequences that you have to live with. So so yeah, I think it's very selfish now, especially when there are so many children who um, are up for adoption. Now, there's a discussion, of course, whether that's a good upbringing or not. I won't get into that, but um, yeah, it's selfish. It is selfish. Uh, so yeah, and isn't it funny how what I just said there is I know that, for instance, if I just went if I was on TV, mainstream channel TV, and I said this, what I just said here now, uh, people would be extremely offended by that. And I think they would be offended not because what I'm saying is wrong or not true, but because they feel that's the right thing to be. They feel it's expected of them to be offended when someone says what I said. And that's a big difference, because when you get offended because you think that that's what is expected of me, then you're just acting out of, then you're acting because you've been conditioned to think in a certain way. And that's a slave mentality, if you know what I mean by that. Yeah, Cave Clown. What gets under my skin is hearing I need to respect every other person's beliefs over my own, and they can crap on mine. Yeah, I know what you mean. As a Norse pagan, I, yeah, I see that. I feel that every time, every day almost. And that's especially Christian people who, oh, they get offended. Oh, Christianity is under attack and this and that, and I'm like, really, really, is it? Well, welcome to my world, then. You know. Um, so let's see here. Yeah, performative. Yes, I think it is. I think it is performative because restoring order. Thank you for that word there. That it has to do with perceived kindness replacing honor as social currency. Not the last part, but yes, I necessarily. But I think it's performative, and the dynamics that comes into play here are the group dynamics, right? Human beings are pack animals. We do not really function well on our own. Some people like to pretend they do, um, but if you were put on a this deserted island, after a few years, you would probably suffer from lack of human contact. So, being pack animals, we do things to fit in, and it's difficult to control it. Now, have you ever, one example, this is a good example. You know, oh, oh, just had to yawn. Um, is it infectious? Anyone needs to yawn here? Are you tired? Yeah. Did you know that that is something that mammals Well, I know primates do it and dogs do it in a group. And it's a sign of showing I'm not threatening you, I'm not threatened, everything's fine. And it's infectious, and we can't control it. It goes back, we have to look back into evolution, like I don't know how many years, tens of thousands of years, maybe more. And it's very interesting because it's just one of the things that, and this is kind of a funny little thing, but we also do it when things like opinions come up, and not we, but human beings, they tend to do what they think is expected. And they think unconsciously, how can I fit in? What am I supposed to think about this? What am I supposed to be offended by? What am I supposed to feel? And they act accordingly. This is how we operate, and it's easy to see. So this is why in the current climate, if you say what I said, a lesbian couple can't get pregnant. Well, actually they can get pregnant if they both get pregnant, impregnated, and they're pregnant at the same time. Then the couple is pregnant. But you know what I mean. Those two people can't get together and get pregnant. It's impossible, right? If you say that now, it will offend people, and it's not going to offend people because it's not true. It will offend people because of the current cultural climate, and people will react in order to try to fit in, and they don't even think about it. They just do what they feel is the right thing to do, what is expected of them, because we're pack animals, you know? And there is, I saw an interesting article years ago, about that was the left and the right? So, and you had a list of what you need to believe if you're on the left, and what you need to believe on the right. Not all of that was true. For instance, it was like in the USA that the left will raise the taxes, and apparently, according to that article, I haven't double checked, but according to that article, historically, taxes have been higher under the Republicans than the Democrats. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily true, but that's what it said in the article, and that was just one example of things you need to believe. And on the right, you should not believe that the climate is changing, because, at least partly, not. On the right, you should not believe that human activity has an impact on the climate. And on the left, you need to believe that, for instance, the transgender, what's it called? All of that. And research has shown, apparently, that people adopt these beliefs even if they don't agree with it. So it's the group dynamic that comes into play. They adopt these beliefs because they feel that is what is expected of them. And this might be the reason why it's so difficult to find people who are actually balanced, nuanced, people who are logical, and they think about things, they look into things, and they actually care about the facts, and they put their feelings aside when they do their research. And the most ironic thing here is that you have people like, and now I actually remember his name, Ben Shapiro, and he was famous for saying facts don't care about your feelings. Well, isn't it funny that someone like that says that? Because he's a typical example of someone who will cherry pick facts to fit his feelings. And he might say, no, this is my religion. I'm a conservative Jew. I don't fucking care what you are. It doesn't matter. Your religion doesn't matter. It's just your feelings, and I don't care. So, yeah, you know, let's see here. Melting ice knows no ideology. That is true. Also, his feelings seem to count when he got rid of Candace. Yeah, I don't know so much about that drama there. Yeah, restoring order, Ben should realize how the significance of emotion is deciding how we think. It should be obvious to Ben that feelings seem to matter more than facts, actually. You know what? That's a really good point. It's a very difficult. If it's a very difficult thing to do. But I can tell you, it gets easier as you practice it. Because it becomes almost a habit. And I have to do it all the time. As a historical novelist, I have to do it all the time. And it becomes a practice that it's like working out. Most people, they think heavy squats are horrible. It's painful. It is. But you get accustomed to it as you do it more and more. And it's the same with this kind of putting your feelings aside and then just looking at the facts. It's the same thing, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah. Going back to the 80s. Yeah. Oh, could I become young again as well? But with the same experience I have now and the same wealth. Thank you. Can I keep that? Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, we talked for 1.5 hours again. It's funny what YouTube has become. I'm sorry, this is low effort, what I'm doing here. But I'm sure you have noticed that this channel has not moved anywhere for 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I know what I need to do in order to make it move, but I'm not willing to do that. So, yeah. But I appreciate all you people, all you guys and girls here. Absolutely, it's nice to have these conversations, and I think it's important to. And I might not be correct all of the time, but at least we can try to ask the right questions. Yeah. Um, you always get notifications. That's great. Um, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, it's going to be interesting to see um, what's going to happen moving forward. I predict that there will be more consequences in the BBC, and because I forgot to tell Trump is suing them for $1 billion. uh, yeah, which is kind of cool, I must admit. And I think this could, when you line up these little domino pieces, and you flip one over, the other starts to flip as well. That effect. I'm just hoping that what's happening to the BBC now will happen to the CNN and those other channels as well, because I would so much love to see these smug journalists trying to come up with excuses for the lies that they have been telling. Oh, I would pay good money to see that. Yeah. And here in Norway as well, because they used that exact clip, edited clip, that exact same clip. That's what they used all of the time. And now they're trying to come up with now they will be trying to come up with excuses, I guess. So I'll keep you posted on that. Yeah. Okay. And to anyone saying that because I'm calling out the BBC for lying, that means that I'm a MAGA person, a fan of Trump. Well, if anyone thinking that, I don't know what to say to. Yeah, I'm a big fan of truth. So, yeah. Do you want the bad guys to turn from their bad ways before it's too late? No, I just want them. I want them to suffer. Not in a physical way, but I want them to be fired. I want them to be dishonored. I want Trump to go after all of these people legally. That would be so beautiful to watch. Yeah, he did encourage his followers to march on the Capitol. Yeah, but and the BBC lied. Yeah. That's I'm not saying that he didn't, and I also said that I think that was wrong, but it wasn't illegal to do that. It wasn't. I mean, it's not illegal to protest, and you might say that. You might discuss whether the election was stolen, right? That was the claim. It was statistically very interesting. I will say that. But yeah, we talked about this already. He did not incite violence or insurrection. He did not. And that's been the claim, and that's a lie. Okay. Yeah, he told them to march down and cheer on the people. We'll read it again. Just finish this live stream by reading again what he actually said. Where is it? Oh yeah, BBC's brilliant headline. I didn't tell you. It's "Why is Donald Trump threatening to sue the BBC?" What a big fucking mystery that is. He said, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women." And the edited version that was used in BBC, CNN, and all the other mainstream, that was broadly distributed. CNN, I actually don't know, but I know it was used in Norway. That's where he says, after they edited, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight like hell." So, big difference. Big difference. Yeah, and he did. He was talking about how corrupt U.S. elections were, and that this was a stolen election, and so on. The BBC is trying to make excuses here, but I don't think they will. Yeah. So there's a bias, and that's obvious, and we knew that already. But now it will be interesting. Okay, I have to go now, and we will talk later. I will have a video on the main channel tomorrow or on Saturday. This is Friday morning here. On the main channel, a little bit different. So it will probably just tank. Most of my videos are tanking now. So thank you, YouTube. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. You might want to check that out on Saturday. Okay. Have a wonderful evening. Be kind. And we'll talk soon.